You found a quiet corner of your mind, a shelf where all the broken things were piled. The stories told in whispers and in scars brought you here beneath these waiting stars. Not for a fix or just to soothe the ache, but for the chance that something new could break. So let the silence hold you like a seam where every thread of hope begins to gleam. This is the in-between. Welcome to the butterfly room, where healing's not an end, it is a tune. You learn to hum and gentle afternoons. Transformation blooms from a cocoon of questions you'll be led to see the colors waiting in the thread. Welcome to the butterfly room. We'll hold the lens up to the hidden part, the dormant art that's beating in your heart. We'll map the change that settles.
That's right. This show will be dedicated to a very important memory and all along those lines. So definitely we are going to bring the host of the show to the attention and everything like this, but we're dedicating this show to Timothy Sean, who definitely lived a good life and a very productive life, but definitely will be remembered and honored by his family, including some people that are connected with this show. But I'm going to let her come on and talk about this part of the show as well as her special guests and everything like that. So I'm going to get off of here and bring her on to talk about why she's dedicating the show to this memory. This is episode 12. So definitely I'm going to turn it over to you. And I know you've got an amazing guest that's going to talk about a very important issue and a very touching issue and a very powerful issue. But I'm going to get out of the way and let you deal with this show and what you've got going on. And I'll also pull off this dedication. But I do know that this is a very special person to you and a very special dedication.
Thank you so much, Mark, for taking that moment for today. My brother has been heavy on my heart. So he left us too soon. And even though he's not here, he always comes to me when I'm in certain situations, and he was in my mind, and, you know, with all the challenges in life. So as we let the story unfold today, then you'll understand what I mean by dedicating the show. His statement was, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And today we are going to be introducing Markia Ashley to the Butterfly Room and its listeners. She is the author of the book Spiritual Suicide. As I put the link out, and hopefully some of the listeners will be able to obtain her book. She's on Amazon. But just to tell you a little bit about Markia, affectionately known as Kia. She's an author and podcaster from Atlanta, Georgia. Markia was born and raised in New Brunswick, New Jersey, East Coast, prior to her move to Georgia. Throughout her life, she was observed by many people, and she has an identity to crisis. These people were slogging through without knowing who they are. And so she said, and she thought, you know, spiritual suicide. Well, I'm not going to give you all the nuts and bolts of the book, but we're going to introduce her to the Butterfly Room and its listeners. So bring Markia in, Mark. Good evening, Queen. How are you? Oh, you can't hear?
Hi, I can't hear.
Okay, maybe the volume up. I'm not sure. Can you hear me now?
Okay. Can you guys hear me? Because I can't hear you.
Yes, I can hear you.
Hold on.
All right, thank you. We're just gonna have a little bit of technical difficulties. Just a second, but I hope everyone is having a good week. As we know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And during this month, it's an observance of anyone who may have had, you know, a good day, not so good day. And pretty much, you know, some folks may have an actual diagnosis, but, you know, as we say in the movement, it's okay not to be okay. It's more so that we can take time, and you can come back and take time to think about what's important to you during this month. And sometimes I know for me, I like to get a good read. I know the observance of the month of May is green. And today we're going to be talking about an issue that, for me, just working in this field from most of my career and working with individuals who may have, maybe thought or contemplated suicide when they're not having so good days. And I know for folks who may go to different appointments, they may do an assessment with their provider. And the provider might say, you know what, you're not maybe having a good day. And sometimes it could just be something that they're personally going through, like a loss of a job or something like that. And during that time, it'll be something that they'll just be addressing. So May, just think about it, is the observance of Mental Health Awareness Month. Hey, Kia, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you. I would just, as we spoke before this show started, that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And as when we spoke, we initially had one date, we had a conflict. So remember I said when it came to the next open date, I said, well, May is actually Mental Health Awareness Month. And look where we are, May 5th, 2026. So tell the listeners about you and then explain. I know one of my first questions is, but just tell us how you've been and introduce yourself to the Butterfly Room and its listeners.
Yes, well, the Butterfly Room, thank you for having me. My name is Markia Ashley, and I am the author of Spiritual Suicide. I'm from New Jersey. I'm a Jersey girl, X and 9. About me, I'm just a child of God. I'm trying to walk a path. Sometimes it goes crooked to the left, to the right, but I'm trying to go straight, I'm a lifetime student. I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly trying to mirror myself, look at the error of my ways, and just learn. I am a motivational speaker. I really get excited, and I draw a passion from encouraging, uplifting young women, because I grew up very insecure. I did not know who I was. And so that is very big for me to do. Even if it's just one little girl, I want her to understand that she matters, her voice matters. And that's really who I am, like in a nutshell. I'm really here to serve the people. So that's what I want to do today.
Yes, and that's why this is the first up close and personal interview for the Butterfly Room. One of the things that I had said when I thought about this vision, depending on what's going on, it's going to dictate how the show unfolds. And after we spoke, because I like to, kind of get the vibe. And then after what you had said to me, because initially I had invited to you on the couch. And from there, I said, well, some of the listeners, if you can do that, you can go see her on the couch. That was the first time it talked about her book. But today, and up close and personal in the Butterfly Room, you had stated to me that you said that you had experienced something that may have put you back into where you were when you wrote the book. And I said, you know what? I think we're going to have a private session, because based on what you said. But I definitely want to start with, why did you choose the title of the book before we go into what you said to me as we prepare for this evening?
Yeah, so Spiritual Suicide. Oh, I remember the darkness that I was in. I felt like I was killing myself spiritually. I didn't have a gun, I didn't have a knife, but I was in self-destruction mode. And I was doing it to myself. I couldn't blame my mom. I couldn't blame my dad. I couldn't blame my childhood. I can only take accountability. And when you recognize spiritual suicide, we all know, is when you do it to yourself. So it's not someone doing it to you. So that already tells you that it's just you doing it to yourself. So I recognized that I wasn't where I wasn't where I wanted to be because of me. Not because of what I went through in life, not because of my parents, not because of anything else or anybody else but me. And that was a very pivotal part in my life, because I kind of got comfort in blaming others. And I know that sounds crazy, but as long as the finger is pointed, I can't mirror the real problem. And I was the real problem. And once I had that revelation, I was speechless. I was like, I can't believe that I'm doing this to myself.
and that's why this is a pivotal moment. And as I spoke to the other day, when we were sitting here trying to figure out, hello, Nakia, how you doing?
Hi.
And so when I tell you, that's why I said we need to do up close and personal, because what said somebody told me to fuck off and said pretty much and just do what's needed. And I couldn't digest that at the time. And so when we talked about that, I said, wow, I feel like I'm in spiritual suicide because someone reached out to me for something and it turned into that I was the problem. Someone told me, no, it's you. And I said, well, how? Because you allowed it.
Mm.
And that's when I felt what you said. And then when we spoke, and this happened after we spoke. So I said, wow, I can't blame anybody. However, I feel that that's where we all have never looked at. And sometimes it's out of love, right?
Yeah.
You're loving and you're sitting there killing yourself. And I don't know for anyone listening, if you ever heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, self-actualization is on the top. So basically, what you just said, you received self-actualization. And I just received a self-actualization moment of how I love so hard that I can allow it to hurt me. And as I said on the platform, love should not hurt. So thank you for being very honest, because sometimes we're walking around, we have a goal. I'm very intentional with what I do. And I think that when you're intentional and you're saying, well, I'm loving, I'm coming, you know what I mean? And then when you're waiting for something, that's when it becomes your fault. And someone said to me, oh, when I spoke, it said, that's TAs. I said, you ever heard of a TA?
TA.
Not a teacher's assistant. Have you ever heard when someone's speaking about mental health issues, or maybe this person made it up? Well, he said a TA is taking advantage.
Oh.
I never heard that.
Hmm.
And this person is in down south where you are. So I said, really? I said, I never knew what a TA was. He said, no. When a person knows that you like them, but the point is like you're making a decision, right? Like you just said, accountability.
Yeah.
Someone asked you something and you need to be accountable to what you respond. And I think that where we experience spiritual suicide is, guess what? What did you just say?
It's self-destruction, and it's when you take, but you're taking accountability finally of your shit. It's your problem. It's funny. I actually found my notebook that I had years ago when I wrote this, right? I want to read this. And it's all over the place. It's old school notebook. So I put, spiritual suicide is living without purpose. It's killing everything that God wants to do in your life. And spiritual suicide spiritual suicide is when you're living beneath your purpose and you're doing things that do not bring you closer to achieving your goals. That's exactly what I was doing. I was doing a whole bunch of nothing and then getting mad at life. I was working a 9 to 5. I was just paying my bills, but my bills were paid, but there was something, a void in me. And I was in between. Thank you, Lord, for allowing me to provide for myself, but I know there's greater in me. So I was in this gray area. Every day at work, I'm clocking, I'm looking at the clock. Is it 5 o'clock yet? And I'm like, this cannot be my life. Like, I hate it here. I hate, I'm grateful, but I hate my life, and I would come home and I would put the TV on and I wasn't adding any value to my life at all. I was literally just going to work, coming home, Netflixing it out, not adding any value. But all I was seeing, the fruits of my life that I was seeing was just the check of the job I was working for. That's the only fruits, because I wasn't working in any area of my life. But I know that, and people who know that they have greatness in them, they suffer the most, especially by themselves, because it's like you're sitting there, you're like, yeah, I know that God has something bigger for me. But see, God is not going to come off the throne and make us do anything. He gives us the seed. He gives us the seed so we can go and do it. He gives us dominion, authority, and power. We have to walk in it. And I was so blind to all this stuff. I'm thinking that, I was just going to be rich and I was just going to be doing that, with not even knowing I have to put the work in. And spiritual was that I realized that I was in a spiritual battle. It wasn't I was feeling it physically, But every life is spiritual. Everything starts in the spiritual realm first. So I was feeling dead. I was angry. I was miserable because there was something on the spiritual side that wasn't being fulfilled. You know, I had a spirit of delay, poverty, lack, insecurity. I mean, rejection. I had so much stuff going on that God showed me I had to heal spiritually for me to actually be happy in the physical realm. So spiritual suicide, that's where I came up with that. And then also it's spiritual suicide, the dangers of not knowing who you are, because it's actually dangerous when you don't know who you are. It is so dangerous because the lack of knowledge, see, the enemy wants us to he wants to keep us ignorant to who we are. He wants to keep us mad, bitter, mad about what happened to us. He wants to keep us in bondage. And, you know, this world tells us, oh, you know, what is it? What's the saying? What you don't know won't hurt you. And
hurt you, yes. And then
and ignorance is bliss. That's a lie. Because
it is a lie. Because when I was going through this, because, you know, I've lost my mother at a young age. My father was incarcerated. So you have to think you have other people raising you. So it gives you a different lens. Yeah. So as what you're stating, as I did a prayer removal, different things were opening in my life. And I started having memories that I really didn't remember. So it was more so, like you just said, it was someone telling me that I can't do something. It was more so me trying to look for an answer. But then when, you know, sometimes we don't want to tell our children certain things. So one of the things that I say as being, you know, group leader is you have to be transparent. And I remember one group, this guy was saying, you know, I can't see my kids. I said, let me tell you one thing. I said, you know, I'm a COA, which is a child of an addict. He's in recovery, doing well. I said, but one of the things that I told my father is I wish you would have wrote me some letters or something when I was younger, right? You wrote with me when I was in high school, but I said, the parents are probably not going to let you see the children for whatever circumstance. I always would suggest we would do journals. I would get old magazines and that would be the process. I said, you're going to decorate these journals because you're going to give it to your child one day. Think about that. I would tell them, was it exercise, arts and crafts? We have the music playing. Decorate the journal, and I want you to write to your child every day. And this was a marble notebook. So imagine if you had a parent that was absentee for whatever reason. If you got a letter, a book like that, and you open it up every day, say your father wrote you something, how would that make you feel? That when you couldn't see that person, right?
Yeah.
You would have answers for every emotion. And it was a pivotal moment. And now today I see people, you know, keep posting, keep doing this. You know, I see I call them my platinum club, you know, folks that I worked with over 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and they're doing well. And that's what you're saying, your purpose. Why are we here? So I think that if we're not mean, mad, and nasty, but why would someone be going below the belt? And that's where I just basically took a stand. What is self-respect? Self-respect means that I'm not going to have anybody talk to me like I'm crazy. You know what I mean? And understanding that love, God is love, right?
Yeah. And the thing too I've learned in life is the more you learn to love yourself, the less you tolerate from other people, because you can't. You love yourself too much, you know? So it's like, listen, your spirit won't even allow certain disrespect. Even if I like you, it's like I can't even, it's not even me. It's higher than me. It's above me, you know?
Yes.
But a lot of us are not healed. And we're not. We're walking around broken. And when you're broken, think about, you know, when you're broken, you're shattered everywhere. And you might cut other people because you're shattered. So until you heal, you're going to continue to cut other people and create more wounds for others and yourself.
And folks are not aware of that. And I think that for me, I'm numb because I used to work in a mental health center and different things like that. And I think where I get misunderstood is sometimes you're in the office, you see what happens, as long as there's no blood or nothing really serious, because people talk. And I'm really immune to it. That's what I do on a daily basis, working in a mental health agency. So I said, you know, I need to do better. But when you're out, you want to feel safe. And I think that sometimes we really need to really look at our surroundings. You know, someone said to me, sometimes people don't see your heart, they see your hand. And then we don't want to think like that. And these are different cliches. And I just said, as growing up in the South, that's all they said. What's this cliche? Was a word problem. I said they used to say different things. Don't cut your nose to spite your face. You live in a glass house, so don't throw stones. But that's what they were saying. But I think because we were children at that time when there were big mamas, it was their cold talk. And it didn't make sense. It wouldn't apply to you to the correct time, if you know what I mean. But let's talk about this book. Now I'm looking at the table of contents. Chapter 1, what is spiritual suicide, which we spoke of? Are you committing spiritual suicide? Who are you? Who are you not? And this is where I wanted to go. And as I said, this particular episode it didn't break you, it built you. Because if you think about a spiritual suicide, and once you identify it, it's not going to break you. It's building you because you had to experience it. You had to, as I mentioned on another show, basically you got to feel something to heal something. You know, when you get burnt, and I say for me, I think I'm a little hard-headed. You know, I was a tomboy. You know, I got to really feel it to let it go. But why does it that have to happen? Because my thing is, if we're saying we're believers, why would a believer hurt another believer? That makes no sense. It's just a conversation, right?
Yeah. Well,
definitely just.
Yeah. Well, I had to. Whew, this is just so heavy. I had to understand that even first of all, even dealing with people, my mentality changed. I realized I'm dealing with the spirit behind that person. So that helped me a lot dealing with people. And when it comes to healing, you have to understand, you have to get into a place where you identify your brokenness, and you have to get fed up with living the same life. You have to, because I had to get fed up, you know, and we talk a good game. I'm sick of this, but our actions show what we're really tired of. Yes. Like when a woman's done with something, you could tell, because you know what? She stopped talking and she doesn't.
But you know what? And it's funny you say that because, you know, I was having a conversation just in the group, you know, they say the man is in charge. And I remember, like, now what I try to do is I have this book that I read every day, Be Still and Know. And this is what I read, and I look through the days, and like, for example, today it is May the 8th. It says my freedom. So it opens up, it says creation itself will set free from its bondage to corruption and obtain the freedom of the glory of the children of God. Romans 8:21. So you see what I mean? Some days begin with praises on our lips and the song of God in our hearts. Humility covers us like a velvet cloth, soothing, a delicate gentle. The truth of God plays on repeat. And it goes into it. Then it closes out with, God, I know you want me to rest in your presence. You are faithful and tender. When I spend time with you, there is no need to hide. I can be exactly who I am and say what I need to say, and thank you. And what I look at is what the day is, kind of what we're talking about, because it's a number. Whoever wrote this is 365 days, but there's on several occasions I'll pick that up and doing my meditation. I'll see that, and that'll help me to have positive energy. But the days that I don't start that way, it's a process. Have you, what is your normal process? Just to really, so before we get into this subject, what do you do to start your day to set the mood so that you can go out there and be in the world?
Well, I have to start with God. I can't start with my phone. I was doing that before. And then I would have the voices of the world in my mind as I started. You know, I can't. As soon as I wake up, I'm like, thank you, Lord, just for waking me up. Even before my eyes, and I wasn't doing that all the time, but I realized that sets my day. It sets my tone. And I just start my day with praise and worship. And sometimes, yes, I'm not going to lie, I don't feel like it. Sometimes I'm not here. Like, I'm like, listen, I don't feel like going in this office. I don't feel like doing this. Sometimes I don't feel like it. Sometimes I don't even be feeling God for real. Like, sometimes I be like, all right, Lord, not today, because I'm mad about something. Or, I'm human. I'm his daughter. It's like sometimes I have tantrums and I'm like, Father, I don't want to talk to you today. I'm mad at this, or you ain't do this, or you ain't answer my prayer. So I'm just being honest. Sometimes I don't feel like it, but I can't go off of feeling, because being in my feelings is the most dangerous place that I could be and I operate out of. It's so unstable. Mm-hmm. And I've realized that I am very unstable when I am emotionally not in alignment with his will. So I have to wake up and I have to praise. That's what I have to do. Whether it's 30 minutes, 20 minutes, that's the first thing I do. Before I even pick up my phone, I just got to be like, Lord, thank you for waking me up this morning. If I don't do that, I realize that my whole day is off. I got to pray. I got to cover the people I'm about to talk to, just everything. So to answer your question, I start my day with praise and worship.
Thank you. And that's exactly what you have to do. You have to have grounding. I know we had Marlon E. Curtis on here, and as far as alignment, and I'm a visual thinker, and sometimes you don't think about perspective. You know, I always say now that this is the third time that I've gotten here. Of course, when you're younger, you dedicate. Then when my son was born, then he was dedicated and I was baptized. I said, now I want to start this. So of course, you know, you're young in the faith, you're trying to figure it out as you are. And I watch you grow up. And it's just now looking at, I'm seeing you next door, you know, you and your brothers. But it's like, you see how everything is in alignment. What we stated, we had an initial date and it lined up with today. And then as other events occurred, and I always say, you know, when I go outside, I need to have the armor on of my creator. And it's funny because at times I'm like, I went to Catholic school, but why? Because my mother wanted me to. So whatever my mother, before she left me here, she had a thing, please keep my daughter in Catholic school. So with me having that background, the one thing is I think some folks feel it depends on, I don't knock anyone in their faith as long as you're worshiping one God. And, you know, the Catholics go and have confession. So at one point, you know, you're going in the booth as a kid, but then I would go to my church. So I said, well, why do I have to do that? Because in my church, we just praise and worship. But you have to understand and respect to their religion. But it was different because that's what was taught, that I had to go through a priest to do that. You know, that's a whole nother topic. But the whole thing here is you have your own relationship. And I like how you said, my father.
Yeah. I'm a daddy.
Think about that. That's your first, yes. And when you said it, gave me the chills because I had to say, you know, I am his daughter. Yeah. And you know, I know for folks who listen to tonight's conversation, and Kitty always says with conviction what you have to do. So thank you for sharing that with the listeners. I have a question here. When did you fully commit your life? As I just stated, like at what age did you have multiple times? Like I just shared, it was 3 for me. What about you?
Fully commit my life. I've been on and off. I was on and off, but I would say I really took God seriously. And you can tell just by the fruits of my life. I would say about 7 years ago, my life changed. That's when God started working on me. And he started by recreating my self-image because it was an unhealthy self-image of myself. I seen myself by my failures, my mistakes, my mother's failures, my childhood, my abuse, all this stuff. You know, then when I got into adulthood, like real adulthood, I would see myself by my credit score, by what was on my bank account. You know, I'm seeing myself by all that. And to go back to what you were saying, why do we have to go through all this stuff? I had to be treated like crap in order for me to say, hey, I don't deserve this. I deserve more. But I had to be treated like that for me to say, hold on, something ain't right here, you know? So I realized, and I've always felt the spirit of God on me through my whole entire life. I've always felt the presence, but I really started taking him serious when I looked at my life and I said, I couldn't get through. I didn't get through that by myself. I was too weak. I was too ignorant. I didn't do that by myself. So then I started digging into his word and I started researching what God said about me. And then it would restruct my mindset, my self-image. And I started feeling like I was beautiful and pretty because I was very insecure. I wanted to be somebody else my whole entire life. Like I hated myself so much. Like I didn't even see the point of life. I wanted to just kill myself and be done. But God started, it's like he says that he will give us beauty for our ashes. And so it was a trade. I gave him my pain. I gave him my hurt, my wounds. I gave him my ugly, and he gave me beauty for it. And I accepted it. Once I said yes to him, it was on and popping after that. I wasn't cocky or nothing, but I was bold. I was walking in authority, you know, and I was walking in wisdom. So it became beautiful. I would say about 7 years ago. It didn't become easy, but I call it a beautiful struggle. It was still a struggle, but it was so beautiful.
No, you were in your process. As they say, the butterfly, when I picked this, the butterfly morphs in 4 stages. I love numbers because it kind of gives you some hope of what to look forward to. And that's why I wanted, and then it's funny because the song of the day today was Say Yes. You see the alignment today?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Say yes. So anyone that is listening, the song of today was Say Yes, meaning that if anyone is struggling with that, and that's what I do. There's folks who share songs with me. So if anyone has anything shared in the comments, because I feel that, you know, we have to be open to other perspectives, because sometimes we don't share what's in our backyard. We don't know. And I like how you say the acceptance part is, you know what, is standing on that. Standing, you know what? I done been through some stuff, but it didn't break me. You know, it built me. And then one of the things I wanted just to go into this, when I was planning this in my mind, Psalm 23:4 says, your rod and your staff comforts me, right? So I was thinking about that. You know, you just said you felt like you were beat up. A rod, a weapon, a shepherd uses to protect his sheep, right? Staff guides the sheep. So what he's looking for us is to guide us. And that's where the alignment comes in. And now when I take the rose-colored glasses off, we're aligned. And sometimes you have to go through different shedding. What does a butterfly do? It starts as a caterpillar and it morphs, it cocoons. And if you have to think of that chrysalis, it's very hard.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I feel that I'm at that other part, because, you know, they say there's tragedies and threes and things of that nature. But I feel for me, you know, I can speak for myself, not knowing who I was, because your parents are here, not here, how you supposed to learn. So then from there, you might have anger. I get upset. And I noticed that when I get upset, that was where the enemy was trying to get me to change. You get what I mean? Why am I upset? So then I have to look at it like at work. You know, when I do an investigation, you take the heads off of the person. It is person, their number, their initials and everything. And if you're doing a analysis of that, but we don't do that. Yeah. I'm looking at someone that I love, right? And then they start talking crazy to me. What do you do? Like your children. So then it's like, you know, your children, you have to. But if it's someone that you didn't birth or you're not connected to, can't have that happen. That's for me, my suicide. My suicide is just loving too hard. And guess what? And that was my hardest obstacle. And I felt depleted. You ever felt depleted when you give all your energy, and then that's when you get upset, and then that's when the anger and things of that nature happen, right? And you said that day, you explained that some days when you get up, if you care to share, why were you so upset that day when you said, oh God, I'm not today, for example?
So I realized that we have an enemy against us, an adversary, which is a legal term. And we'll go into that more, but I don't think people understand that there is a track, there's assignments, there's a plan for us. So even while we sleep, this negative thoughts constantly, sometimes some of us are tormented by demonic spirits, continuing to remind us who we was and what our failures, our past. And then before you wake up, before your feet hit the ground, you mad. You don't even know why you mad. You just mad because you just came up from a fight, a spiritual fight while you were asleep. And it was tormenting you, reminding you of this and that, and reminding you ain't even going through this. This ain't gonna happen for you. You got $10 in your pocket. You got this, and look at her. A comparison. Comparison is one thing of the enemy. It's a trap. And see, the enemy has been around, so he knows our weak points. He knows. That's why it's important to repent. And you call it confessions, but we have to repent, because if we don't, we have to forgive ourselves. So we have to ask for forgiveness, but we have to forgive ourselves, because if not, we keep ourselves in bondage. And Satan will remind us of this every single chance he gets. So to answer your questions, there's times that I was attacked in my sleep. And I say attack because I was constantly dwelling on negative things. So by the time I'm waking up in the morning, I'm already mad because I'm dwelling, I'm sleeping there. I made my home in my negative things, the things that's not going for me. There's a difference between someone happy and joy and someone angry and misery. They're both dwelling in a place, but one place is negative, one place is good. And I was dwelling in negativity, going to sleep. I'm going to sleep thinking about all the stuff that I wasn't doing, couldn't do, I'm still not here. And then I'm blaming God. So I wake up with that same energy. That energy is on me. And then I wake up blaming God. And see, that's what the enemy wants us to do. He wants us to curse God. He wants us to, he speaks, he whispers in our ears. And, just like he did with Adam, Eve in there.
Mhm.
Oh, God don't want you to know like him or have knowledge like him. And
You have to learn
all
how to
this-
combat that. Yes.
Yes. And that's why we have to know the word of God, because, it's times it was in my ear, girl, you can't do that. Why you think you could do that? And then, but the word says I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So we got to fight back with the word. But see, the times that I would allow Satan to attack me, I wasn't in my word. I was all flesh, no spirit. See, we are humans. We're it's like it's two sides of us.
Yes, we're human beings. So think about it. Human is the flesh.
Exactly.
The being
and beings
is the spirit. Soul.
But we only feed our flesh.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why Satan be beating us up in the spirit, because we're not built up. So it's times that I literally allowed Satan, I welcomed him in, I sat down and I listened to his lies. So by the time it's 5 o'clock and I need to wake up for the day, I'm already mad. Instead of waking up in joy, because I know, God, I don't know what you have for me, but I trust you. Lord, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but my eyes is on you. Lord, I don't know how I'm going to get through it, but I'm going to trust you. Instead of having that mindset, I'm mad at him. Well,
that's positive self-talk. And it's funny that I like how you stated what you just stated. When we meet with folks in the mental health setting, some of them who have a higher axis 1 diagnosis to be schizophrenia, major depressive disorder, bipolar disorder, those we're aware. But sometimes the pivotal moment is that something can happen in your life, but you're able to turn the switch and keep moving, like you just explained. And the observance of mental health awareness, if it's over 2 weeks, that's one of the things. You hear in the doctor's office, they'll have you ask this. If you're getting an assessment or something like that, so that you can go and get the help that you need. But one of the things that I used to hear a lot is broadcasting. Someone said this, but when a person has one of those type of diagnoses, it's very loud. And what we would notice is just sitting there, at the table, or so took my cigarettes and whatnot. That didn't occur, but in their mind. And that was one of the reasons why we had to do certain things. So thank you for explaining that, because when you don't have one of those type of diagnoses, you can snap back. You understand what I mean? And then sometimes it could be negative behavior, because if that person said, their voice said to slap the person, next thing you know, I see this person going across the room, slapping someone, and you wonder what happened. But thank you for sharing that, because sometimes if you just spoke to someone to talk you down, then that could be where you have that, or even journaling, as we said on different platforms, other shows, just write what your thoughts are. And that goes back to, but I want to get into some of these excerpts of this book. So thank you.
But it's really like, who are we listening to? We're listening to some type of voice, but what voice are we listening to? Is it the dark side, or are we on the light side? So we got to kind of narrow down the voice that we're listening to.
Yes. And this is the one chapter 8. It says, living life to the fullest. And when I read this, it said, this is the maximization of whatever life offers. This does not incline with wealth or possession. It is about enjoying the resources of life and exploring the resources that have been divinely bestowed on us. Life has a lot of good, awesome, amazing moments, as well as non-thrilling moments. Per purpose, every time your lifespan counts, and this is why an individual must maximize every time in season. So you're going through here, then you have some scriptures. So when you're saying with the spiritual suicide, when you got there, that's when you flip the switch. I guess, I don't want to tell, what were you doing when you're thinking about you're slowing your book down? You said living life to the fullest here, because you were dealing with the spiritual suicide in chapter 7, but you said you fell in love. I want you to kind of just let the readers know what you were thinking when you were, closing this topic out and giving us some tools. What were you thinking at that time?
So I realized that I was focused on the wrong things, and I was comparing my life to someone else's fantasy. I was comparing my reality to someone's fantasy. I was on Instagram, I was scrolling, and that's what kept me in bondage a lot, because I'm like, well, she's on a yacht. I'm here, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. So once I closed my phone and I opened up my word and I got into my reality, I actually started becoming happy. I was in my own bubble, and even though I wasn't on a yacht, I'm able to go cook my niece some food, and we eat and we chilling and we just having a good time. We got a roof over our head. We eat like the simple things. God wants us to eat, drink, and be cheerful. And I always took that for granted. But once I turn my perspective, everything starts in a mindset. You know, once I changed my mindset and I started becoming grateful for the little things, I started healing from my own suicidal mindset because I wanted to live.
Thank you.
I wanted to live. Before, mind you, I was killing myself, but now I'm finding purpose in myself. And I'm waking up with purpose. I'm happy. Even if nothing happened. It could have just been a regular day. Instead of me saying it was boring, I said, well, thank you, Lord, for this peaceful day. Just the mindset. My mindset changed, and it made me so grateful to just be alive. So I started off dark and gloomy, and then I kind of ended with, thank you, Father. But I had to go through some type of deliverance, to be honest. I actually wrote down everything I would say my accuser would accuse me for, which was very intimate things. I wrote down everything I've done bad to someone, every person I slept with, every trauma that I could remember, every abuse that I had, and I forgave that person or those persons, and I forgave myself. So now I was at a point where Satan couldn't use nothing against me, because that's what his whole thing is. His whole thing is to go into the courts of heaven and accuse us of something, you know, and he wants to keep us from what is rightfully ours. So I wrote down, I don't know if anyone ever, I know people have seen the movie 8 Mile. You seen the movie 8 Mile? And you remember when Eminem at the end was battling Rabbit. It was his turn. He said everything that his opponent could say about him. So by the time the opponent, it was his turn, he choked. And see, what I learned, I tapped into my power and my treasure, and I started making my adversary, the enemy, choke. Because you're not going to say nothing that I didn't already repent for, and God didn't already forgive me for. So I shedded the shame in my life. I didn't walk around with shame anymore, because I already spoke it. I already said, yep, I did that. Yep, you know, this happened to me. Yes, this happened to me when I was little. This happened, but I forgive them. Like, I got rid of that, and it was such a peaceful life that I'm living now. Even though everything is not perfect, I have peace. I wake up, oh man, I be like, hey y'all. They're like, you really wake up like that? Yes, I wake up like that.
Yes, but you know what? And thank you for opening, because that's where I wanted us to get. You know, as I saw this, you know, what do people need? It's May, it's Mental Health Awareness Month. And one of the other things is conflict resolution. One of the things that I have to deal with a lot when I'm called to investigate on a job or just in any situation, and just thinking about it, just being a layperson walking, conflict resolution is really all about perspective, like you said, and respect for difference of opinions. Yes. And what I've noticed as I go through these different conflicts, that now I notice is I'm self-inflicting it, because I shouldn't even be there. But because I love certain people, or you know, I want to be of service. And if I think of my brother, he has 3 children, right? So you're like, you take care of one of your nieces, right? Yeah. So we both are aunties. But guess what? Aunties don't have to do this. Aunties do it because we love, but we don't want to be taken advantage of. But the thing here is that someone said to me, well, sometimes because you're at the circus. I don't know if you heard that. I said, I'm not a clown. I said, what do you mean by that? They said, that's circus behavior. So it's always about, are you in the appropriate room? So circus behavior, when you're saying you're going through something, why would something be an issue? As you said, you were scrolling. All those things were outside of you. I love being in my bubble. However, to be of service and to be a good steward, I have to go to the circus sometimes. And I don't want to do that. But now it's perspective. So now when I go out to the circus, I'm going to have my armor of God on to make sure that I can deal with those things. So I don't have any self-inflicted wounds, because we don't want to be in spiritual suicide, right?
No. And we have to, the thing is that we have to share our gift. And I realize that because I do that. You've told me before, like, girl, you got to shed your light. And I go into my bubble. But I didn't realize I didn't realize that when we don't share our gift, we're robbing someone. Yes. We're robbing someone of some type of healing, some type of motivation, uplifting, something, because God put something in us. And see, what what a true gift is that if it glorifies God and it serves others and it blesses you at the same time, that's how you know like you are walking in the will of God. And we have multiple gifts. He's a God of multiply. So it's not just one gift that we have, but what's the point of him giving us gifts and burying them like the man in the Bible? God gives us the seed for it to grow, not for it to stay in the soil and stay dark. We will never see the beautiful flower, but in order to get that flower, we have to water it. So we have to water ourselves. And, you know, it was a time where I call it my spiritual tank. I was on E. So, you know, I just told my friend this. I said, because she was telling me how I wasn't there for her. And I said, listen, I want you to imagine me driving a car. You know what I'm saying? Just imagine you driving a car and you are below, you below that E, you be like, I know my car, so I can still make it, but keep past that line. But I'm below that, even I can still make it line. I can't stop for you. I can't. I see you. I acknowledge you. But if I stop, I'm going to be broken right where you are.
And you have to park. And I'm going to give a shout out to my girlfriend, Crystal's Fendi Styles. She had a post, as you know, sometimes I'm not really on there that much, more so to post to be intentional. But she says, sometimes you got to park the car. And basically what you're saying, so I'm getting a resignation, park. Because if you see something, remember they tell the kids, see something, say something. Mm-hmm. You feel it, right? That's the same thing. So sometimes you got to park and about face, right? About face. And turn, aye, sir.
Yeah.
We need to listen. Because sometimes he's telling us, my daughter, I one time I was feeling, he said, sit down, my daughter. You ever had that? Sit down. You ever feel in your spirit? Sit down. Because and when that happened, I wrote it down on my little thing. It says, I'm tired of fighting battles for you with people who don't like you. That came to my head. I wrote it down. Look, on my sticky tab. Yes, God says, sit down, my daughter. And I came up with, I'm tired of fighting battles for people I'm tired of fighting battles for you with people who don't like you. That was deep. And sometimes I just know I feel things. I put my hand on my chest since I was younger, and just to feel some things. And when you don't know who you are, I think about it. I have GI issues, and I was talking to my surgeon. He said, when was your first surgery? I said, before I was one, I had a hernia. Do you know your gut is where your spirit lives? All in that area. You ever know your stomach? They say my gut hurts. Your parents say, yeah, in my gut. Your GI system is, helps the vagus nerve regulate your stomach. And from there, I have issues with that. Then I don't want to eat. Someone said, oh, you must be on Ozempic. No. When I am shaken, I don't eat. So these are one of the things that it was like God was telling me, Toya, if you don't sit down, I'm going to sit you down. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
You get that part?
There is absolutely it's so powerful when we know the season that we're in, because we can get drained. I remember trying to do so much for other people, and God said, I ain't tell you to do that. I ain't tell you to do that. You doing that on your own, by your own strength, your own knowledge. You're not leaning on me. I ain't tell you to do that. And so what I was saying,
we got big hearts. We have big hearts. That's what that is. We have very big hearts.
But what I was saying, it was power in knowing when you got to refill yourself. If I'm
guilty. I be dry and ashy. I'm sorry. I'm dry and ashy sometimes.
I can't give you what I don't have. Even if I want to give it to you. If I got $5 to my name and you ask me for 10, I can't give it to you because I don't have it. So there was times when I was empty, still trying to give. And God's like, I didn't tell you to do that. So sometimes we have to know, listen, I got to refill before I try to fill you up. Because I'm going to feel something from an empty place. So that's one thing I had to understand. I had to know the seasons that I was in, because seasons change all the time. It never stays winter. But it's okay when you're not able to do that. And see, I was overwhelming myself. Even when I was down, I'm like, well, I got to still help out. I got to still that. Even God rests. We got to take a rest sometimes. We're not, I know we want to be super women and all that, but we got to take time sometimes to refill. And we're not God. We're not God, and we can't be God for everybody. We have to, what they say on a plane, before you try to help, if the plane's going down, before you try to help someone breathe, make sure you got yours on first. Because how you gonna help her breathe and you
that's
can't
the
breathe?
big one, Kia. You have to do an inventory. What I
Yes.
did was take an inventory of
Mhm.
everyone that I love, and I can no longer do one-sided things. That includes family, friends, certain things, because right now, as you said, it depleted you. Then that's when you become angry. You're looking at everything else.
Resentful. You're resentful.
Yes. And it's sometimes it's beknownst to us because we just know that we feel this fire in us.
Yeah.
One of the things that I do, I put my hand on my chest. And from there, they say God is with us. And as I, go through this journey again, I can tell when God is happy because I feel like my heart goes like this. It flutters like a butterfly. So for anyone listening, think about it. That's from me. When I know that I'm doing something, because as again, I can be a little introvert and an extrovert. I like to be in and out. But when I'm in my creative process, and as I said the other day, when you said to me, I'm going to get into that. But today you sound really strong because we talked. And I think we did our pregame. Sorry, guys, we did a little pregaming. But I really want to get into this when you said when you had to reread the book. That's what I want to tap on, because today is a good day.
Yeah.
Just to share and tell us, because I'm, so we can encourage someone else out there. Their crown may need to be straightened up a little bit.
Well, again, it goes back into telling yourself the truth. Where are you right now? Where are you mentally right now? It's okay to not be okay. We ain't always got to be strong. We ain't always got to be the tough one. We don't always have to do that. It's okay. If you wake up, you feel weak and you say, I don't feel like being strong today, that's okay. So the first step is going to be tell yourself the truth, because that's how you're going to know how to deal with your stuff. You can't be lying to yourself and lying to people. If you don't tell me what's wrong with you, how can I help you? I can't help you. If you're lying, saying, and what we always do is, I'm fine. That's the biggest lie that we all say. Someone say, you okay? You good? I'm fine. I'm fine. But really, we're dying inside. We're killing ourselves, and we're not fine. We're farther away from fine. We're literally like on our deathbed. So the first step is stop lying to yourself. It is okay not to be okay. It is going to happen. It's going to be ups and downs, ups and downs.
Acceptance.
Yeah, I mean, when I tell you, I got to a point where I remember feeling the spirit of jealousy and how God was working on me, because I said, Lord, create in me a clean heart. And I said, show me the error of my ways. Oh, baby, I should have said that, because every little thing, that Holy Spirit was just slapping me up and down.
But how were you able to identify that you were jealous, to acknowledge that? Because sometimes as women, I'm happy about life. I like to get outside, because I think too, from having surgery, you're stuck home. You want to get outside, but then I date myself. That's how I look at it. So when you were outside, you said a spirit of jealousy. Can you give an example of, for you to even acknowledge that, which is big? And I definitely
I remember meeting this young lady who was a little younger than me, and she was just doing her 1-2. And I'm like, wow, just talking to her, I was mesmerized by her. But then I felt something in my spirit where I was like, I really did. And so I said it out loud within my mind. I didn't, because I was in front of her. But I said it in my mind, I said, you're jealous of her, Kia. You're jealous.
But at least you got somebody's accountable. Like Dr. Diamond said, you have someone on each shoulder. So I'm glad that you acknowledge that, because someone who has a mental illness, they would think that and they would react and fight. I'm serious, hearing the voice. So for you to have enough astute to just say, no, I know you caught yourself.
I caught myself, but I was walking in my truth. Not even my truth. Because here's the thing, the whole my truth. It's his truth. It's the truth. It's one truth. It's the truth. Walking in his truth. And I started facing myself. And that's the only way I could heal and grow, is telling myself the truth. So I said it. And so it's like I had a counseling session with the Holy Spirit. Why are you jealous? Why are you jealous? And it said the reason jealousy is rooted from insecurity. Insecurity is rooted from ignorance.
You're the mirror. You're mirroring someone.
But it stems because jealousy is insecurity. Insecurity comes from ignorance of not knowing who you are. Because if you knew how dope you was, there's no way you would be jealous of another chick. You would clap for her because, baby, I could never be her, and baby, you could never be me. Like,
right, you were made in his image. There's only one like us, one.
Right. So when I went through that, God went through it with me, and he showed me you ain't gotta be jealous because y'all both dope, you know.
Well, Mark said backstage, he said you have to know yourself first. Be proud of yourself. Yes. Thank you, Mark. We're gonna catch you when you want to pop in because he's gonna close us out when we're ready. But I like your candor because right now I think that we're all going through something. And when we take that inventory, sometimes when you get that inventory, you need to know what you have to do. And accountability is a must. And one of the things that I know that I am guilty of is when I really love someone or I want them to win, my boundaries are a little shaken in because I work in the mental health field. I see things and I give people passes. But what I have to understand is that love doesn't hurt me. And I do a lot. And I know that when I do that, I don't like when someone makes me feel like it's an entitlement. But I said, you know what? It's okay. But one of the things that I had to do is, as a kid, I had to depend on folks. I was very humble. So I wanted to get back. And as you know, and just closing out the Lent season is, you know, the word says, forgive them because you know not what they do. I was like taking it literal. So a family member said, Toya, you ain't supposed to be a doormat. I said, well, the word said you can't forgive me. No, not what they do. I said, if it's anybody else, I'll tell them no. He said, that's really when the people hurt you. So I said, okay, that acceptance for me, Kia. Well, I said, really? And I felt stupid. Then that's when I thought of my brother. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. So when you said the dangers of not knowing who you are, and my family is the word is your bond. My cousin always says, why lie when the truth will do? What's up, B? You know, he would say, why lie when the truth will do? And his other word is, why you spin talking? And that's the other thing. I said, y'all know I went to parochial school. Stop with all this slang. I said, spin talking. So, you know me, I'm the nerd and I get geeked out sometimes. But the whole point is I had to accept that's my fault. I'm gonna own that. This person told me it's a company. Oh, that's a you problem. Okay, thank you. Me problem. Yes. Okay, I'm gonna eat that. I'm gonna set my boundaries. And if I really want to do it and the spirit compels me, I'll do it. But if I don't want to, I'm not going to do it anymore. Because right now, those distractions affect us. Thank you, Mark, for popping in.
No problem. Very powerful conversation. Y'all been going for an hour. Like I said, even some of the performers at the Apollo, because there's a bus here in Durham, North Carolina, the Road to the Apollo, and they're going all over the country and everything like that. So Kwanzaa Jones and her husband, Jose Feliciano, who, by the way, just bought those Padres, or they're trying to close that deal. So he'll be the first Latin owner, and she'll be the first minority woman owner. She'll be a sister. They'll actually own a baseball team, and all along those lines, if they can close that deal by June or July. But definitely, Markia, one of the things that I heard y'all say, and I've heard too many people say it, and all along those lines, is that we too often don't love ourselves and everything like that. And I just wanted your thoughts around that, because I do think that sometimes we are so busy with it, and it's not just women, it's men too, that are worried about what folks are going to say and everything like that. So I just wanted your thoughts around that.
I'm sorry. What was the question? It was something in the background. I apologize.
Oh, he's on a call, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, but definitely, it's just one of those things of just I have to write things
down.
Sorry about that, Mark. I gotta start my day.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. What I was saying is that too often people are caught up in that notion of not loving themselves and everything like that. So I was just wondering your thoughts around that, because I know a lot of times both men and women are too caught up in this notion that they have to be perfect and all along those lines. And I am a big believer in loving yourself and everything, but sometimes we are going through relationships and we are sometimes letting people that have been hurt us, and we're also sometimes not doing a good enough job of healing ourselves and everything like that. So I just wanted your thoughts around that, because I do sometimes think that we do a horrible job of not identifying our own pain points. But I'd love to hear your thoughts around that.
Yeah, so one thing that I had to do, and I know a lot of people, you have to forgive yourself. Some of us are killing ourselves by the secrets that we're keeping. Our secrets create strongholds in our lives. And then we don't see ourselves as worthy anymore. We feel like, well, God can't do nothing else with us. You know, I've done this. I've been this person. I've done this so wrong that you know, God is done with me. And then that's how we view ourselves. So we don't feel worthy anymore of God's love. We don't feel worthy of joy. We don't feel worthy to be happy. So the first thing we're going to have to do, and we could never heal ourselves, but God will heal us. So we have to submit to him. But we have to be in a position where we're ready for that, for that healing to come. But we have to let go of this pain, this hurt, and whatever you did. None of us are perfect, but I realized that our secrets are making us sick, and it's keeping us in a place where we don't feel worthy for God's love. And we're like, no one's going to love me. I'm not, I don't have any value because I've done this wrong. I've treated this person wrong. I got this, I got that. We got to stop seeing ourselves by our failures and our mistakes and see ourselves by how God.
But that is the bondage, though. That's what's keeping us bound.
It's a bondage. It's a major bondage, and it's keeping us from walking in our purpose. And see, that's what the enemy wants us to do. Because if we knew who we were, if we took more time finding out what God said about us instead of looking at ourselves by our past mistakes or by what our parents did, generational curses, we will be a bad mother effer right now, okay? Because we're doper when we're healed. We're doper. You know what I'm saying? When we have peace. When we're sitting in bitterness and we're mad and we're resentful and we still mad at this and we hateful and we got anger, we keep ourselves in bondage. And don't nobody want to be around us. Who want to be around a miserable person? I want to be around a person with life, who happy. I'd be like, bring her around, but someone who don't even want to be around themselves, you can stay home. And that's the thing. We're dying in our secrets. So that's why I said, I wrote down my secrets. I wrote down everything that I did. That you can't hold this against me. I'm pulling my 8 Mile Eminem Rabbit moment. I'm about to say everything that you got against me, because you're not going to hold me by this no more. And that's going to be the first step. Don't stop allowing people to hold you by who you were, and stop seeing yourself by who you were. You have to be willing to say, you know what? I forgive myself and I am who God says that I am, and walk in it with boldness. I got
stand in it. Like the old people, you got to stand in it.
Stand in that thing 10 toes down. Yes, because you're worthy. You are worthy. And guess what? We're no surprise to God. He know what you did. He know what you did back then. He seen you do it. You know what I'm saying? And he forgave you for it. So,
and as the word said, no weapon formed against us shall prosper. One of the things that, that's something that you don't have to rehearse. It's just known. And I think that sometimes we don't realize the word is living. Yeah. It's living. And I think that, as you said, you got to get going. You got to have that mindset. And I think that now that I make that commitment, it's a practice. If I get up and brush my teeth and do all this stuff together, I have to do that as my process. And I know when I do my process, I'm good, right? Y'all, we all good when we had that good day.
Yeah, that process, everything. I know we winded up and everything, but Toya and Markia, the other thing is that sometimes we're too busy trying to get validation from other people. I know that even in my business land and in our relationship, sometimes we're too busy trying to get validation when we need to be validating ourselves. But sometimes we're too busy trying to get validations and approval. And, no matter what you're doing, whether it's being a singer or performer or a doctor or a lawyer, you have to have the belief in yourself. But sometimes we're too busy trying to get approval and everything like that. And definitely we're trying to do that in relationships. So I just wanted your take on that, because I do think that sometimes we are too busy trying to get somebody to validate us when we need to validate ourselves.
It starts in childhood. It starts in childhood, because we're either taught how to shrink or we're taught how to grow. I have some people who grew up in a loving household, so they grew up knowing how to love. They already knew certain things. They weren't looking for it. It was times I was fishing for a compliment. You know why? Because I wasn't told that I was beautiful. So I'm looking for your validation because I never got it.
And sometimes it can come wrong from the wrong person. You don't know. Thank you, Mark, for that.
And so what we need to do is God already validated us. We don't need, first of all, you the same as me. We got the same blood. We sin in the same, I don't need your validation at all. And once we graduate from needing another person's validation, we are now on a whole different spiritual plane. Now we're trying to please God. We shouldn't be out here trying to please man. We got to please God. We're not here to please man. We're here to please God and worship God. And that's it. So as soon as that, it's the mind thing. Once that clicks, we're going to walk more freer. It's going to be such a freer walk. Because now when I wake up, I don't try to search for value. I'm already valued. I'm already valued. The word already means already, like it's already done. It's already checkmarked. It's done already. So I don't have to look for it.
Amen.
I already have it. So once we have that understanding of what we're trying to get, we already have. So we out here wasting our time right now because we already have it. If you know, what's the point of me going to get some milk and I got it in the refrigerator? I could be making what I need already with the milk that I already have. So when we sitting here thinking that we don't have something and we don't have it, we're wasting time. We are already validated. When Jesus died on that cross for us, he validated us. Nobody else needs to be validated after that. We don't need to be validated by nobody who's going to be going to this. We got the same options in life. We going there.
Because I always say day by day, when I can't, I go day by day, week by week, month by month. Next thing you know, you're on through 12. So I think that for anyone here, my 2025 was a little rough, but we made it here. Ooh. So think about the positive self-talk. That's it.
I go minute by minute because
some days you gotta do minute by minute, but today is a day by day.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, Marquia. Sometimes it's second by second as well.
Second by second.
Yeah.
Second by second.
You know,
well. But we have a very powerful conversation, and like I said, sometimes people are too busy trying to validate and also doing that ego thing. Because I know that sometimes, as an older gentleman, I'm in my 60s and everything like that. Sometimes people are too busy letting folks stroke their ego, because we do like to have our ego stroked. And sometimes that ego stroke isn't necessarily healthy validation. It's sometimes a validation that can be harmful, because they may be stroking our ego and having ulterior motives and everything like that. That's that whole thing with both the cougars among the young women and the catfishers among some of the younger folks and everything like that. So I do know sometimes there's that whole ego thing that's going on as well.
We have to work on our self-inflicted wounds, though. You have to think about it. What we talked about today, pretty much the acceptance is understanding what your self-inflicted wounds are. First one you have to think is giving. You know, sometimes I'm not doing any one-sided. So that's something that someone told me. They said, well, some people feel if you want to do it, do it. I said, well, I'm thinking, no. You want to be the dummy, be the dummy. What the assessment is when you take an inventory is no more one-sided. The other one is following just words. The actions and words must match. But sometimes we overlook it. You know, these are things when you think of your self-respect. I respect you. I want you to respect me. One thing about my core good friends, we don't curse at each other. You know, we don't do those things. We use our words and we never hit below the belt. And that's one thing, you know, I had to think of, you know, sometimes with family, sometimes I had said before about bullying you, you know, you don't think about it. But then I always say, take my head off. Would you say this to your mother? Say something like that. And I tell guys, I said, listen, you know, whatever happens, if you're trying to date, dating is different now. I say to someone and I feel a certain way, would you do this to your daughter? They get quiet. Well, what do you mean? I said, listen, me and my father are very close. And he was saying, if I wouldn't do it to you, I don't want no man doing it to you. He told me his time is up. My father said, time up. I said, what do you mean by that? He said, ain't nothing there for you. But sometimes as girls, we're like, what do you mean you're cutthroat? So we'll have a conversation. But I think that sometimes we have to talk. And if a person doesn't want to have those conversations and they're uncomfortable, that's your red flag right there. And I am definitely not a flag collector. And I'm not creating my own spiritual suicide.
Yeah, and I want to leave with this though. You know, people pleasing is very draining and it's dangerous. And if you give people the power to feed you, you give them the power to starve you. So you never want to give that person power over how you feel about yourself, because that is dangerous. They will.
Yes, it is. It'll make you get angry. It's like then the person said, well, I didn't tell you to do it. So then it's like, you know, that's the part that I think, like I said before, when I was at that crossroads, I love hard. I love hard, you know, based on, you know, when you have absentee, but it was what God wanted me to do. And I said, a lot of times I am just a vessel. And as you said, if I trust him, I'm going to accept being his vessel for whatever message. And once I accepted that, life became lighter, right? Yeah. Because it says in Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Right? That's the word. So if I'm going through something, he knows my life plan. Sometimes I think I needed to go through the fire so that I can get that heat to cultivate this diamond in the rough, who now is what? Right? Pressure makes diamonds, all these little sayings, but it makes sense though. It all makes sense.
I agree. Well, I think
there's no doubt about that. We're getting ready to wrap up and everything like that.
Getting ready to wrap on up.
So I guess wrap on up and everything. But Miss Marquia, the one thing I was going to add to that just really quickly is sometimes we don't even, and it's kind of what Toy was saying about, we don't have enough respect, particularly for ourselves and everything like that. Because even here at this Apollo performances, there was a couple of young people that came on and started doing cuss words and using profanity, and I'm going like, that's not what this is about. It's supposed to be about respecting yourself and respecting the audience that you're in and everything like that. But they were thinking that they were hip and cool and everything like that. So also you got to understand what is really hip and cool and how it can sometimes harm us as well. So sometimes we think we're being hip using some of those profane words or some of that profanity, and it's not all that cool to be using words for female body parts and stuff like that. So sometimes needs to be left.
Thank you. I feel uncomfortable with it, but now I said I'm gonna be 50 next year. I'm not doing that. It's like
there is an agenda when it comes to the music, the entertainment. It's devaluing. There's if you look
it's
at
targeted,
times,
it's targeted message.
It's very different, and it's an agenda of the enemy that he's trying to do. He's trying to dumb down the children so that they don't know who they are, and they put in the music, what they're eating, what they're watching, it's glorifying sex. Everything is poison. You taking it, you're killing yourself. What they're listening to, whatever we listen to, whatever has your ear has your mind. So these kids are listening to these artists. They're listening to, watching what's on Instagram, and they're trying to mirror the artist. And that's the problem, because these parents are allowing their children to be raised by society and not sitting down at the table like back in the day where we eat, we put the phones down. The phones are raising our children. So that's what we get. It's going to be the product of the environment that they're getting right now. And it's trash.
I mentor. I tried to expose the little girls to different things. So, just look out there. Have Girl Scouts. I was a Girl Scout. So for anyone listening, I feel that, each one teach one. We are really on this platform just trying to put out some information. This book, Spiritual Suicide, is an easy read. I reread it at the airport, and it really was the last piece that I needed as I embarked this journey of unfolding the butterfly room. And when I read that, I said, wow, this is for people who said they liked my approach for what I did. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I said, you know what? I'm going to vet anything that I'm going to do. So this is just for what's to come. And Marquia, as I stated, we would love for you to join us when you're available, because there's another piece to that. We need some young juju out here. So thank you so much. So we're going to do our parting words. I guess we're going to start with Kia. We're going to work it around, and we will see you soon.
Whoever is listening, start telling yourself the truth, and you need to write down all your shame, all your abuse, all your trauma. Demons actually attach to trauma, and we need to heal from the trauma, because the trauma creates soul wounds. And even though we're adults, we're still walking around with these wounds that are unhealed. So we need to, even if we need to go back in order to go forward, write down this stuff. And you ain't got to say it out loud. It's between you and God. Write down all your shame, all your trauma, all the people that you need to forgive. Write down yourself so that you can forgive yourself and begin the journey of healing, so that you can actually live life and love life, and not just be a robot out here, a zombie, just on autopilot, just going to work every day. There's a purpose for you, and you need to tap into it. And that's what I'm going to leave with. Tap into who.
Thank you so much. I think you said it. You said it all, Mark.
I'm going to keep it very simple. In about 2 days, it's Mother's Day, and I am a big lover of my mom and everything like that. She is one of my mentors, and even though I'm in my 60s, she's been a mentor all my life, and all along those lines still depend on her even to help in some of the agendas, whether it's relationship advice or whether it's just life advice, or even being a supportive mom. But I also got a lot of sisters, both no birth sisters because it's just me and my younger brother, but I do have a lot of sisters in life, people that are supportive of me and I support them. And all along those lines, some have been romantic partners, but some have not been romantic partners. So I do believe in that sister joy. And I think that sisters are very important in our lives and all along those lines. So I'm going to wish everybody out there, particularly the mothers, but also the mentor mothers, because not every mother births a child. Sometimes you are
And
also
the
a mother
auntie
and a mentor and everything like that. Because I know that, even though, oh man, I have mentored many kids and still have many that I mentor. Matter of fact, one just came through this building recently, that being Phil, that lives in California, and he's here for a while and everything like that. But I am a big believer in the mentor energy and everything like that. So if you are a mom and celebrate Mother's Day with yours, whether that's your significant other or your spouse, or whether that's the kids, if you have kids and everything like that, but also celebrate with those that you are mentoring, because you just mentioned, Toya, about being a Girl Scout mentor and everything like that. So I do think that it's very important that we help raise these young women to be proud queens and all along those lines. So I'll just leave it at that. Let's raise our women to be proud queens, and any way that we can do that, I support, and I hope that others support as well.
Yes,
Thank you so much, Mark. I'm elated. It just seems to me that we just needed that private moment. I know that you and I spoke, and thank you for allowing that, and Mark for taking the reins. And my closing words here is protect your peace at all costs. I know that for me to be able to execute this platform with your assistance, Mark, is to know that knowing who you are, well, not knowing, can cause you to, self-destruct. And peace is the main thing from there. And I know that once you take your inventory, it'll give you the step-by-step of what you need to do in your transformation. Right now, as they say, with all the pastors, and mainly mine, is the year manifestation. So that means you are going to be tested. You're going to be under the fire, because guess what? As with the butterfly does in the fourth stage, that's when the wings emerge. And we just want to make sure that you morph and then follow your purpose. Everyone has their own life. We're individual lives. And we hope that you understand that we're here. Keep listening, keep watching. We're here every other Friday at 8. And customarily, we always have something. So this last message is, I thought about you, Markia, and your testimony, and anyone that's listening. When you go through something, there's always a reason for that. So thank you, and we'll see you soon. Have a blessed Mother's Day to all the mothers, and thank you for coming to visit us in the butterfly room. Good night.
Yep. And we'll go over that video that you have me send as the closing clip. So I'll pull us off and play that video.
I used to think I was behind, late, left out, looked over. But God said, baby, you weren't delayed, you were developed. When I finally looked back, I realized every season I hated was a classroom I didn't know I was sitting in. Every storm was a syllabus. Every heartbreak was a chapter. Every valley was a whole degree program in a language only survivors speak. My hands weren't clean when I started, let's be honest. They were dirty from digging myself out of pits I never should have been in. Dirty from holding on to people who were never assigned to my destiny. Dirty from fighting battles I didn't have the wisdom to walk away from. But God took those same dirty hands and didn't shame them, He shaped them. He rinsed them in rivers I cried, He washed them in waters I survived. He turned them into healing hands, hands that know how to touch a wound without reopening it. Hands that know how to lift somebody without losing themselves. Hands that know how to pray with the kind of way you only get from being crushed. I wasn't unqualified, I was being certified. Pain was the professor, purpose was the degree, and God was the one signing off on every test I thought I failed. I didn't just get a message, I lived it. I didn't just get a word, I walked it. I didn't just get a calling, I crawled to it. The mess wasn't a setback, it was my ministry training. My wilderness was my workshop. My breaking was my becoming. Storms used to terrify me, now I hear sermons and thunder. Because every time lightning cracked the sky, God was cracking something been opening me to breaking chains I thought were personality traits, breaking patterns I thought were normal, breaking soul ties I thought were love. The rain wasn't punishment, it was preparation. It was God teaching me how to stand in places that were designed to drown me and still breathe like destiny was in my lungs. And these scars, these aren't blemishes, these are scriptures, holy verses written in healed flesh, proof that God still edits stories the enemy tried to publish too early, proof that resurrection isn't just a Bible story, it's a lifestyle for people like me. I didn't know the oil on my life was pressed out of places I begged God to remove. I didn't know the anointing I carry was mixed with nights I cried until my pillow felt like baptism water. I didn't know the message in my mouth was born from moments I didn't think I'd survive, but I survived, and survival changed my voice. It gave me a tone. You can't learn from books, so wait, you can't get from sermons alone. A depth you only earn by living through hell and coming out holy. So now when I speak from evidence, not theory, from experience, not imagination, from deliverance, not performance. I speak with authority because I know what bondage feels like. I speak with compassion because I know what broken feels like. I speak with clarity because confusion used to be my roommate. I speak with fire because I remember the cold. People saw the mess, God saw the material. People saw the delay, God saw the development. People saw the breakdown, God saw the blueprint. People saw the storm, God saw the stage. He was building for my testimony. So if you hear strength in my voice, know it was carved out of weakness. If you hear wisdom in my words, know it was gathered from wandering. If you hear power in my praise, know it was born from pain that didn't kill me because it wasn't allowed to. The mess didn't ruin me. It raised me, it trained me, it taught me how to fight, how to pray, how to stand, how to speak, how to love, how to forgive, how to rise, how to glow with the kind of glow only God can give. I didn't just get a message, I lived it. And now I'm qualified.
You found a quiet corner of your mind, a shelf where all the broken things were piled. The stories told in whispers and in scars brought you here beneath these waiting stars. Not for a fix or just to soothe the ache, but for the chance that something new could break. So let the silence hold you like a seam where every thread of hope begins to gleam. This is the in-between.
Welcome to the butterfly room,
where healing's not an end, it is a tune. You learn to hum in gentle afternoons. Transformation blooms from a cocoon of questions. You'll be led to see the colors waiting in the thread. Welcome to the butterfly